Hello, everyone. My name is Ana Mendoza, and I'm here with my colleague Alejandra Carrillo. Today, we're going to be speaking about evaluation of foreign degrees, and this presentation is both for students, staff, administrators, and anyone interested in this topic. So a little bit about ourselves. My name is, once again, Ana Mendoza, and I am how we see ourselves at adult schools is that we are in the generation changing business. And what we mean by that is we understand that students, when they come to an adult school, they, many of our students don't have maybe access to an education, prior education, or maybe they were not able to finish their education, or, or maybe they have a college degree. Maybe there's a million situations that happen in a student's lives. But we understand that when a student is given the opportunity to either validate their degrees or receive any kind of training, that not only does it impact the student, but it also impacts their whole family. And so therefore I like to share a little bit about myself. I am actually the child of adult learners. Both my mom was never, didn't go to school. My dad only went to second grade, but thanks to an adult school in LA, my dad was able to get his technical degree. And then thanks to an adult school in Madera, my mom was able then to not only learn to read and write, but also learn English, learn how to use a computer, became a US citizen. So it impacted all eight of their children, 7 of which have a college degree or higher. And of course, we have the first law attorney, immigration attorney in our family. And then of course, our children have had different experiences compared to what we had working in the fields alongside our parents when we were their age. So I want to say thank you for anyone who is involved in adult education, because we are in the generation changing business. And not only are we impacting the individual student, but we're impacting the whole family and future generations that come from that student. So I want to say thank you. And of course, feel free to contact me at any time. I would be more than happy to support in any way that I can. And of course, my colleague Maritza could not join us today, but Maritza is also a student that connects with our students due to her background. She shared that the first picture on the top is a picture when she first arrived in this country, and of course, and the other picture where she graduated high school, and the child that you see there, and the arms of her father, is actually her daughter, and so therefore she understands that many situations can happen in the students' lives, but the fact that our students continue studying and it impacts again the whole family, because it brings in not only that inspiration to continue pursuing our goals, but also reaching our goals is contagious, and when one student reaches their goals, it impacts everyone in the family, since everyone also sees their potential and also pursue their own goals. So Maritza was not able to join us, but she is the expert in ABE ASC programs. She's a program specialist, and of course, we'll be talking a little bit about her role and what she has contributed to an adult school when it comes to validating high school diplomas.
Hi, everyone. Good morning. My name is Alejandra Carrillo. I am the program coordinator for the Salinas Valley Adult Education Consortium. A little bit about me. I am a first-generation student. I received my sociology degree from CSUMB, and I work with helping these students revalidate their foreign degrees. There's my contact information. If you have any questions after the presentation, please feel free to reach out to me. That is my personal number. So you can also text me, send me an email. I help students transition from the adult school into the community college at Harnell College. And then aside from the foreign degree validation process, I do support other students at many different levels. And at the moment, we've helped students maybe like in apprenticeship programs and mentorship programs and things like that. So again, if you have any questions after the presentation, please feel free to contact me.
And who we are. So we're part of Salinas Valley Adult Education Consortium, and we represent 7 adult institutions within our county. And so this is just to encourage any a student and anyone in the community who is thinking about returning to school. We highly encourage you to find the adult school near you or the consortium near you, and therefore be able to have access to all the free classes and free courses that we have. We have been very fortunate in California, of course, to have CADE, which is California Adult Education Program funding that comes directly from the state, and of course we are funding that comes from the feds to have these programs, many of them, the majority of them, completely free for our students. So I want to say thank you on behalf of all our seven adult institutions for being here with us, for sharing this information with our friends and colleagues, and for, of course, continuing to be in the generation changing business. Okay. So we like to share this, especially with administrators and colleagues, just so that we can get a little bit of that feeling that our students feel when they come to a new country, right? So therefore, I am sorry to inform you of the following changes, right? So think of the memories that you have of when you finish your academic degree. So, for example, when you finish your bachelor's, how proud you felt, all those family pictures. When you finished your master's, how you felt, working so hard and then finally receiving that diploma, or any degree that you have received, any award, and then coming to a country where you're told, well, yes, you have these degrees, but unfortunately they do not count here. So therefore, you have few options now. So so that we can get that feeling, I am sorry to inform you of the following changes. Your college degrees are no longer valid in the U.S., and therefore you are currently unemployed. All the money and years you have invested in your education and to gain experience is no longer valid when seeking employment, and the official language is now Spanish. So you learn it. Okay. I am sorry to inform you of the following changes. So please select from the following jobs. You can be a laborer, you can be a housekeeper, farm labor, construction worker, babysitter, or unemployed. And of course, we will ask you to pick a number, and that's the job that you will get. And the reason why we do this is because we have received students, and actually, one of our students that began this process, she was actually the one that pushed us as an institution to move forward with this. When she told me, she's an attorney in Mexico. She it was a college professor in Mexico, and she came to me to tell me, like, teacher, I'm here in the U.S. and I've been told that I have two options. One is to go clean houses, or the other one is to work in the fields. It's just a teacher. I'm a lawyer. I mean, those jobs are very respectable jobs, but I'm a lawyer. I have done presentations, in several countries. How can those be my only two options? There has to be another way. And that's when then we went ahead and assigned this a project to a colleague of ours, and then alongside with that student, they were able to discover the pathway of what we are now. And of course, Alejandra is now the expert in this field, since she has helped multiple students. But imagine being told that those are the only two jobs. Okay. So now it is in, now the language is Spanish, so therefore we're going to do this in Spanish. So que aviso no hay engaño. Lo que sí, información que descubrimos, no pretendemos ser profesionales o expertos en ese tema. Seguimos aprendiendo y ajustando, y el proceso se mueve como tú te mueves. Okay? Of course, many of us that are able to speak more than, able to speak Spanish, we were able to understand that. But of course, unfortunately, many students have to come into the country and not be able to speak the language. And of course, we encourage you to do this reflection activity of how you felt, of what emotions have brought up, of those memories of you graduating from college, of your family, being there with you, of all that work that you did, all that expertise that you have, all those years of experience, and of course, then being told that, unfortunately, it is no longer valid, and the language that you speak is no longer, it's also not the primary language. So you need to learn a completely new language, and now you're faced with this situation. And Alejandra?
Okay, so we're going to go ahead and get started with the revalidation process, right? What steps does it take to be able to do that? So key insights as we support students is that we do not claim to be experts in this area. We're continuing to learn and adapt based on the student experience, and the process continues to evolve based on your needs. Oh, Okay, first and foremost, as you begin to think about revalidating your degree and your studies, the number one thing that we need to discuss before you even begin the process is to determine your purpose and why you are pursuing this opportunity in the first place. So, what is the reason for why you want to revalidate your education? So, we have six primary reasons that most of the students we've met with have kind of fallen under that category. So, we have the adult school for higher so either going to the adult school, right, and getting your high school diploma or your GED, access to higher education, and that means going to college or to a university. Maybe you're just looking for a better job based on your experience and where you came from. Some of you might have specific credentials based on what you studied, and then many of the students do it for immigration purposes and naturalization support, and others just have a personal development and empowerment goal, so they just kind of want to know where they stand. So for the high school evaluation at the Salinas Adult School in the Salinas Valley, one thing our lead Maritza does discuss with the students is that despite the outcome of the validation process, not only for the adult school but for employers, schools, and maybe for financial aid or whatever other reason why you're doing this, your validation is not guaranteed, right? So we try the best that we can to give you the support that we can and the credit that you need to be able to get your high school diploma, where essentially you wouldn't start from the beginning, but everything is not guaranteed to translate into something that is taught in the United States. Okay, so that's something to think about as you begin to revalidate it, for your high school diploma.
Yes, and just a friendly reminder, remember that whether a student receives a high school, a GED, a high set, or the high school diploma, they all have the same validity, right? And so therefore, we do let students know that. However, we do understand that students can bring in their high school diplomas as well as their college degrees, and transcripts, of course. And then what Maritza was able to do is that she then translated these classes, these courses that students receive, and then of course they were given credit for these courses, because a math class is a math class, or an algebra class is an algebra class, regardless of where we take it, right? And so therefore, these that is how the points were calculated, and of course, and that is how students are then able to validate their high school diplomas within the high school. Now, the reason for this is because, well, when they go through validating their college degrees, they might also validate their high school, and that is great. But some institutions prefer, or rather, only accept the GED, the high set, or the high school diploma, right? And so therefore, that's why we want to give students another option as to if they want to join the military, or if they want to do anything like that, then we encourage them to bring their college transcripts as well as their high school transcript, and then that way we can validate those high school classes. And of course, there'll be a few classes the students will have to take. For example, econ, they would have to take the English classes, things like that. But it's very few classes compared to, doing the whole set. So, and of course, we understand that at every adult school, in every district, every school district, the number of credits needed to graduate are different. And so therefore, for us, it is currently 150. And so therefore, that is, we also inform the students of that as well.
Okay, and so as you begin to explore the foreign degree revalidation process, once we discover your purpose, right, the next step is to find your agency. So what does that mean? Um, Unfortunately, there are instances where other people try to take advantage of somebody in the situation who's willing to pay to revalidate their education. So it just something that's very important to understand is that you shouldn't be paying one person X amount of money to be able to go through this process. There are established agencies that have been approved nationally to be able to give you the certified revalidation process, certificate, or whatever it is that you need for yourself, that is approved within the United States. So there are only about 18 approved agencies. And in order for you to find your agency, I invite you to explore the NACES organization. They are under this website, and what you would be doing, or what we can do together, is we would navigate each and one of the websites, and whichever one fits your needs, that's the agency that we would be selecting. We do not represent any of those agencies. We just know that they are certified nationally, and they're accepted nationally across many universities and colleges. We would just help you navigate the websites, okay? But NACES is the approved organization that has the members that can help you revalidate your degree. So once you select your your agency, the next step is to begin to navigate which evaluation am I going to go for, right? So that all depends on your purpose. So we go back again, like, why are we doing this, right? So the recommended evaluation type and documentation that we need, this is what we usually work with through with our students. So we do a general evaluation, which compares your education to the U.S. system, and is typically used for employment and immigration purposes. And then if you have university, or if you've gone into a university, then we'll do a course-to-course evaluation. And this is where you would be providing all your original documentation for both of the reasons. But the course-to-course evaluation looks at the courses that you've taken, the course outline, the credits, and the grades that you've received. And this is if you want to go into a university, right? So you have maybe a certificate or something close to an associate's degree, but you want to go straight into a university, then we talk about those options. Are you coming to a community college and then you're going to transfer, or is your best option going to apply into that UC or CSU as a foreign student, right? So the official documentation that you need to begin this process is to gather all your documentation, transcripts, and grades. You're going to need your original degree or diploma. A photocopy is usually not acceptable depending on the agency that you select. If you have a professional credential, for the students that I've supported, it's usually called a cédula for students that studied in Mexico, and that one is a pretty that one's basically an ID, right? That's registered with the Mexican government, and that one's easier to be able to for us to be able to go through the process. But it just depends what type of information you have based on where you came from. If you're a student who's a refugee, do you have your information right? Is your school still existing? So there could be a lot of variables in order for us to be able to determine if you are going to be able to go through this process, or if you should just start from the beginning, right, with one of our adult schools. And then so essentially collect as much original documentation as possible. And if you don't have your originals, we do have specific procedures that can help you gather your originals, which can be contacting your family, maybe going to a consulate, right, for the foreign country you came from, and then maybe connecting directly to the university that you came from to see if they can send you that documentation. So it just depends, but it's very important that we gather all the original documentation. Once you've gathered your original documentation, we do want to translate your documentation, if it's not in English, into English, because some agencies don't require a certified translation. Technically, yes, you can translate it by yourself, or you can use ChatGPT or AI to be able to translate it. My only concern with this is that if you go through this process and you pay for it, and somebody who is evaluating your documentation questions the validity of your documentation, and you don't have a certified translation, then it could put in jeopardy everything you've paid for and everything you've done as invalid, right? So if you're gonna do this, I know it's a few extra $100, depending on what type of service you end up using, but it's important that you do it right from the beginning so that you kind of save yourself a few $100 in the future. Anna, can you talk a little bit about the translation services with other
Yes.
agencies?
Of course, yes. We definitely encourage you to, many of these agencies, they are okay with the translation being done by, by you, by an individual. However, we do, like Alejandra mentioned, encourage you to go to institutions for the translation, and the reason is because they do put that seal of that is needed, as to make it more formal. And so we have discovered through students that have returned back to us to inform us of their process, and also, of course, remember that these students, they know how to navigate, because they're college graduates in their country, they know how to navigate situations within their country. And so therefore, we one of our first students that we first started this process with, she went to the Mexican consulate, and through her connection, she was able to discover that not only are universities, they have what they call peritos, which is pretty much experts in translation within that university that they attended. And so therefore the university themselves, they can translate the documents, and then of course put the seal of the university in those documents, making them official. The cost of those translations is just a couple, like Alejandra mentioned, a couple $100, if that. And then also, of course, there's free services as well that the Mexican consulate offers. We don't know about the other consulates, so we encourage students to connect with the consulates of the country that their nationals from. But when it comes to the Mexican consulate, especially the one here in San Jose, they have an individual that is whose role is to do those translations. So therefore, they do it for free. And then, of course, it has the seal of the Mexican consulate, and that makes it official. So therefore, encourage your students to either connect with the university where they graduated from, so that they can have one of the peritos translate their documents, or they can also go to the consulate and seek those services for free as well.
Okay, and here's an example of one student that I've helped revalidate their degree. So her, it's something that's very important as you support the students, is that because our students have came from miles away, right? This is their only documentation, and a lot of the a lot of the time spent with the student is taking the time to encourage them to let go of this documentation. And for many students, this is all they have, right? This is proof that they're educated, and that they've completed their education, right? So this part in the process is encouraging the student to send off their documentation. And in different countries and different places, a diploma looks very different. It can be like from a small certificate to a documentation that is, as big as can be, and it's in special paper, right? So there's a lot of attachment to this documentation. But here's an example of one of the students that has a bachelor's in international relations from El Salvador. And when you translate your documentation, most of the services that we've been able to use, they want for you to keep the translation in the same format. So here's an example of her original diploma, and then this is what it translated into. So it's very important that you can use somebody who is familiar with this type of technology. It's not just a simple text, word to word translation. It should be staying in the same format. Oh, sorry.
Now, a couple of important notes. Of course, remember, sometimes as academic institutions, and we're helping students, we support them in getting different benefits. However, when it comes to validating foreign degrees, only the student can request their academic records. And so it's really important for students to reach out to the university, and to, aside from that diploma that Alejandra spoke about, there's also the transcript, right? The official transcript. So it's really important for students to reach out to the universities to be able to get this document. Now, many times these universities, they do not want to release these documents unless it's the student who is requesting them. And many times our students themselves, they cannot travel to their home country to get these documents. And so therefore that is when you have to have that conversation of maybe them speaking to a family member or a friend or someone that they can then give rights to, so that way that person can then go to that university and be able to get those documents. Many, for example, here in the States, we're able to get our documents online, right? But in many countries, they students actually have to go to the to admissions office and get those documents there. Evaluation agencies are private and not affiliated with our staff, of course, and we cannot guarantee the outcome of any evaluation. So we do inform students of this, that it is not that those agencies are not part of the adult school. This is just us helping them to navigate, this process. Students are notified directly if any documents are needed, which is, it really has to do with the student themselves connecting with these agencies, and as adult schools just guiding. We are not experts, but we continue learning and improving. We do encourage students to return to us and inform us of anything that they learned that they feel that other students should also be aware of. And so therefore, many students do come back because they do feel grateful of not only the service that was provided for them, but the outcome. And so therefore, they come back and they're like, teacher, when in the future, when the student comes in, remind them of this, or, they really give us their experience so that we can make this process better and easier for other students. So do encourage the students to come back and share this information with you. We collect students' experiences to better understand the process. So when as you also encourage students and support students to go through this process, we encourage you to do the same, to collect that information so that we can support each other and find better best practices. Okay. So key reminders, of course, evaluations cost from $100 to $600 depending on the agency and services. And of course, we encourage students to choose the evaluation type and based on their career and education goals. So if a student wants to start working in their field, there are some fields that are more difficult to be translated to so that they can practice here in the States, such as anything in medicine, of course, anything in law, right? So it's important for us to have that conversation. What is your goal? So for example, the attorney students that I spoke about earlier, when I had that conversation with her, I told her, do you want to practice law in the States? Because it's a different process. You would have to take the bar again, the bar exam. You would have to learn the laws here in the United States, because they're very different from the ones in Mexico. And of course, when it comes to any health career, students then have to take a look at any additional exams and certifications and that kind of thing that they have to take here in the States in order for them to be able to practice, right? Like residency and all these things. So we have that conversation. However, we also speak to the student about other pathways, education, for example, right? In education, as long as you have a bachelor's or a master's degree, you're able to teach certain classes, and so therefore, and it's more welcoming to students from in different with different degrees. And so that is where, for example, the student I lost, the attorney student, I informed her that while she would have, if she wants to become a lawyer here in the States, she would have to do all these things. If she wants to enter the academic field, then it's a little bit easier. And so what she did was, right now she's going through the adult ed validating not validating, rather, adult ed credentialing program, so that way she can then teach at an adult school. And of course, she's teaching currently at the community college. And so therefore, we have noticed that the academic field is more welcoming to students with different degrees. So we have that conversation with students as to what is their goal. And of course, immigration status can affect job and education options. We do speak to that about with students as well, that any academic institution or any government institution, or they do need a social security number from the student. So therefore, students that do not have that, we do encourage them. We have a free immigration consultations with the attorneys that join us once a month. We encourage them to meet with them, and of course, we encourage also the students to maybe consider opening their own businesses. And we have had students that have master's degrees and have been directors of adult educations in other countries to maybe open their own businesses so that they can use their expertise and their degrees to continue working in their field, but in a different way. And of course, not employers are familiar with foreign degrees evaluation. So we do encourage students to reach out to decide which institution they want to work for, and then reach out to that institution, the human resources department of that institution, to ask what evaluation do they require. So for example, this attorney student, she contacted the human resources office at the community college and asked that question, and she was given three options. And so from those three options, then she decided which would be best for her to be able to use so that she could validate her degree. And what she did also was she also wanted to work for the adult school. So she called the human resources office here at our district and also asked the same question. And so that's how then she was able to decide which agency she was going to use. So we encourage students to kind of think of what agency they want to work for, and then of course reach out to the human resources department and ask this question. Certified translations may be more affordable. So again, in Mexico, for example, Perito charges 800 pesos for 3 pages, right? So therefore, this is of course information that was brought in by a student that went through the process. Agencies will notify you if more documents are needed. And by you, we mean the student. They will notify the students. And of course, we are very, very grateful of other experts who have not only contributed to this presentation, but also have, when we were new in this process, we thought that this was a wheel that we were inventing. And then through a social media post, when I reached out to the community to let them know that we wanted to do this project with students that had foreign degrees, we connected with Elena Gardio, which is an adult education transitions coordinator at a community college in Illinois, and she has been doing this for years. And so she agreed to share her contact info because she's been really, really helpful to not only our students but also to ourselves, so that way we can share best practices and share what is going on with these validating the process of validating foreign degrees, so that we can better support students. So do feel free to reach out to Elena. She has been doing this for many, many years. So she understands where students come from, and of course understands what the process is when it comes to validating degrees. Okay. We also a student of ours who was actually working packaging vegetables here in our county, and then she has a degree in the sciences and STEM. I can't remember, but it has related to agriculture. Through our validating process, she was able to validate her degree, and then she is now one of the scientists at one of our agriculture companies here in our county. And so she she was going to go to the Mexican consulate, but then she found out that at her university they had a perito, Guillermo Barrera, who was doing translations. And so he agreed to also share his contact information with students for whoever needs a translation. He charges 800 pesos for to translate 3 documents. And of course, it has the seal of the University of Querétaro, and he's a certified translator for the Superior Court of Justice of Querétaro. So therefore, she provided his information, and he is happy to also do that for students who would like to get their documents translated. And of course, we do understand that students, when migrating to the U.S., they have certain situations going on when it comes to their legal status. And so therefore, we do encourage them to reach out to attorneys, attorney Armida Mendoza, for example, and of course, full disclosure, she has 15 years of experience working in immigration, with immigration law. And she is also my sister, who I, of course, love very fondly. And so I'm very fondly of. And so therefore, she comes to does online free immigration consultations for our students and for anyone in the country that wants to speak to a lawyer for free. And so therefore, she has joined us and has also recruited other attorneys to also join us and have those free consultations for our community. Armida has been a strong advocate, has received awards for her involvement with the community and her volunteer work with the community, providing these free immigration consultations across the state. And so therefore, we do encourage students to take advantage of the free immigration consultations, because we understand and we have heard from students that a consultation with an immigration lawyer costs all the way to $300, $400, and it's a lot of money. So therefore, we encourage students to reach out to nonprofit agencies such as the UW Foundation, or of course Catholic Charities, and of course attorneys who provide free immigration consultations, so that they can better understand their process, and if there's a pathway for them to be able to legalize their immigration status. And of course, one of our students who has a master's degree, and I cannot remember now what her master's degree is on, but she used to be the director of an adult institution in Mexico, and for various reasons, she migrated to the States. She now realized, when she validated her degree, she said, "Teacher, but all of you are only helping students in the States, but what about students from other places that also need this service?" And I said, "I'm sorry, we cannot support them. We cannot support everyone." And so then she decided to help, so that she can help other students like herself. She decided to open her own business in helping students validate their foreign degrees. So therefore, her consulting firm is called Equal Professions, and so therefore, we do encourage anyone who maybe cannot. Or is not able to reach out to Alejandra, or is not able to get these services. There's also a student like themselves who has gone through the process and who has experience in this area, and she is able to support them, of course. But it is a private entity, so there is a cost for her support. And of course, we encourage adult institutions to support these students in other ways, right? We have IETs here at Salinas Adult School, like English for Office Technologies, ESL for Health Careers. So that way, for example, a new project that we are supporting with is students who have medical degrees from other countries, and we're supporting them to validate their degrees and then get a CET credential. And so therefore, when they get their credential, they're able to then teach health classes here in the States, right? And so therefore, we encourage them to do that, so that way they can not only teach our ESL for Health Careers, but also work with ROP or work with CET and other agencies that are constantly looking for these professionals. For example, we have had head of surgery that have reached out to us that live here in the States now, but are working as paraeducators, right? Or doctors, surgeons. And so therefore, these would be great instructors for our IET programs, since maybe they don't want to practice here in the States because it requires so much more from their field, but teaching is something that they are able to do because of their expertise and their level of education. And of course, for attorneys, we do have an English paralegals, where attorneys from other countries that are living in the States can take this course and therefore be able to, start practicing a little bit of their expertise. So it is really, it takes a village, right? So therefore, we encourage adult institutions to also open such courses and target these amazing students that have college degrees from other countries, because what you will notice is that these students are not only very independent and are able to navigate many of these systems by themselves because they have expertise, but also because they are lifelong learners, they're able then to also learn the language at a much faster pace, and of course take these courses and certifications and be able to practice a form of their field here in the country. And of course, we always like to encourage everyone in our community to come to Ven al Café con Pan. This presentation, of course, is part of Ven al Café con Pan. This is now a national presentation, so feel free to share with anyone that wants to explore different areas. For example, we have Q&A with immigration attorney Armida Mendoza and Lorena Vargas, who came on the 22nd. Of course, we have the recordings for every single one of these presentations, so you can share with your students, with your family members, and of course, we have citizenship with immigration attorney Armida Mendoza. The citizenship process has changed. And so therefore, the attorney is helping our students not only navigate that, but also understand, what it entails. And of course, how to start your own business. We are working with SBDC, which is a statewide and national agency that supports small businesses and helps them not only with the process prior to opening their own business, but also they help them with all the permits and all that good stuff. And then at the end, of course, once they have all that ready, they also help them with the business plan, the social media platforms, anything that has to do with promoting their business and making it successful. And all that is completely free. And of course, validating for degrees with it is a presentation that we're currently doing. But feel free to reach out to Ven al Café con Pan, to reach out to us, and then we will be more than happy to share these videos. We also have our YouTube video, our YouTube channel, I'm sorry, and therefore you can find all these videos on our YouTube channel as well. And of course, we have other special projects, like I mentioned, the freeing consultations with immigration attorney Amira Mendoza and her colleague Lorena Vargas. Both attorneys have more than 15 years of experience in immigration law, have worked for nonprofits and helped many students that have received awards for their commitment to helping the community. And of course, this presentation with the consultations is once a month and is completely free, open to anyone in the country, and it's online. And this is to protect the privacy of students requesting this service, and also, of course, protecting the attorneys. And of course, these consultations will continue next school year. So we will be sharing the dates and the link for the next semester and following semesters. But we encourage you to support students by sharing this information and having them reach out to the attorney. And of course, we encourage students to register with us so that way they are aware of any changes, of any presentations. For example, this recording will be sent to all students who have registered for not only Ven al Café con Pan, but also have registered for knowing any updated information about foreign degrees. And then, of course, I will let Alejandra, our expert in this, speak, because she created a beautiful document for you to provide your students with.
Yes, so these are the QR codes for the document, and you can scan it, download it, and make it your own. So please, I do encourage you to print it out. If you print it out, my information is on there. I have absolutely zero issue with students contacting me, as most of our information is very it's flexible to be able to be used in different formats. This is a QR to our presentation. It is live, so as we continue to learn and adapt to the student experience, you would be seeing the live updates on this presentation. And here is the documentation. So this is a step-by-step guide for anyone who's beginning to do this process independently on their own. So it's very much what we discussed today. It's printable. You can share it with your students, and it'll just walk them through the steps that they need to be able to begin this process. The biggest takeaway from this is that the documentation process is going to be what takes the longest, and funding this, right? So not a lot of our students are in a financial situation where they can pay for this expense. So as you meet with students, you might meet with them at the beginning of the year, and you won't see them until maybe in the summer when they're ready to move forward into the next step. So I always tell the students, do it in stages, get the documentation, and then do a translation, and then maybe in a few months you can pay for the actual revalidation process. So it can be a lengthy process, or it can be something from one day to another, but here is a step-by-step guide for you to be able to share with the students. And questions are welcome. Please contact us and send us emails if you have any questions or concerns. You can always contact us with all of that information. Ana?
Yes, and thank you. Alejandra, if you can share our contact information, and that way, feel free to reach out to us if you have any questions. Feel free to share this recording with anyone. Feel free to share it in your social media platforms, right? The goal, again, is for us to be able to help our students, to help our community, and we have Alejandra, myself, and Maritza are state, local, and national presenters on this topic. So we are more than happy to join your agencies and present to them, to your consortium, and of course we are more than happy to support students as well. So thank you again for being in the generation changing business, and please again do share this widely.